Good evening, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu and the Businessline editorial analysis on August 20th, 2022. The first article I am going to discuss about is from the Hindu. The reigning in overreach is a very beautiful article, and the title, a marvelous title which it has been given. It refers to the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs overreach sometimes in arresting persons just without thinking much and having many reasons to be recorded before arresting a person on tax evasion. The Supreme Court earlier in a case had laid down that so much of thinking process is involved and recording reasons must be involved before arresting a person on the case of tax evasion. It has been often seen that the CEOs and the top offices of the companies are just and the bigger firms are being arrested on the cases of tax evasion. This has to be avoided because the reasons for arresting must be a very compelling evidence. There must be a conclusive evidence before the offices before thinking about the arrest. That is a prerequisite. And the second thing is that the approval process. The prerequisite process is that prima facie there must be a case established against a person that he has tried to evade tax. And the second is the approval process. What is the approval process, my dear friends? Approval process means there is a concept in law which is mens rea, MENSREA, which means guilty mind. Even in income tax laws and taxation laws, this culpable mind of the person who is guilty must be established. That is, intention to do the infringement of law must be evident. So much evident only then an arrest warrant can be issued against a tax evader. And now with the four circulars which has been released by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, one discusses about the threshold limits up to which the summons cannot be issued for the customs. And other circulars are dealing in regarding the summons cases. The most probably a letter would suffice if a summons has to be issued to the probable evader of tax. Therefore, the issuance of summons often has been found whatever data we could have recovered, that is records which could have been taken from the GST website, that is gst.gov.in website, those have been listed out and summons have been issued. This should be avoided. A mere letter showing the reasons for suspecting the person must be given out in the summons. So the GST law, the goods and service tax law, is still evolving and is in nascent stage. So it hinges upon the GST Council to work out on exemptions and the inverse duty course correction. That is, inverse duty course correction means for some of the items the outward supply tax is more than the inward supply credit. For some, the outward supply tax is available and inward supply tax is not there. So there is an inverted duty structure which has to be corrected. Then there is the question of exemptions which has been long hinging. Hence, a final point has been laid down. Although in the erstwhile excise law, these kinds of dictats or the instructions were there regarding the summons and arrest. Further, the guidelines have been issued by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs now to show that the guidelines will work as a prime point in making the summons and arrest process very much keeping in with the real intention of the law. That is the implementation of the law. The much thrust should be given to the implementation of the law rather than going on issuing summons for those cases where the evidence or the records are available even from the website, and the arrest should be made only if those two criteria prerequisite that a tax evasion has taken place, and the second approval process is that the concept of culpable mind, that is mens rea, must be established. Then there is the second article, which is from the Businessline, which is titled A Balance of Power. It discusses about the unified payment interface system. There has been a long time the unified payment interface system has been established. What was the reason for establishing this unified payment interface system? The intention was to make digital payments easier. The more and more digital payments replacing or substituting the cash payments has seen a rise up to 82% of the transactions now carried on only through digital payments. That is unified payment interface. And it represents 23% of the value of the transactions, total transactions being conducted. And you can see NEFT payments are there. NEFT means up to 5 lakhs we can transfer funds in the NEFT system. And there is RTGS system. Above 5 lakhs, whatever transfers between banks is there, it can be carried on through the RTGS system. And there are UPI systems that are like RuPay, for which the government has been carrying on the burden. That is, the transaction cost of carrying out these digital transactions is free now since 2020. And therefore, what the government has been bearing the cost of all this transaction costs. Now the discussion is arising. The Reserve Bank of India in the recent discussion paper has raised the question whether the transactions should be charged or not, because it is a very huge expenditure involved in the infrastructure, and the transaction paraphernalia becomes very much costly. There are several infrastructure involved in one UPI transaction, that is UPI app, the UPI bank, the paying bank, the pay bank, the customer bank, and the NPCI, that is National Payment Infrastructure. So these entities are involved in the UPI payments. So there is a question mark arising whether this should be charged or not, the transaction cost should be charged or not. The Businessline says that let us wait for some more time, so that the digital payments are now at a very common pace going on. If we are charging it immediately, the number of transactions in the UPM payments may come down. It may be thought like that for a month certain UPI transactions are allowed free, and from the balance, when from the threshold, after the threshold it must be charged. Such kind of ideas may be thought of. Therefore, the UPI transactions, the discussion paper is a fine balance of power which has to be deliberated upon, and a plausible solution must be arrived at the earliest. Friends, I hope both the articles have been very much interesting to you. Meet you tomorrow with some more interesting articles like this. Till then, take care. Bye bye.